Okay, factor by grouping number 3. So now we are going to group our terms. Okay, and now we're looking for the biggest number that will go into both of these. If you notice, this first term doesn't have a number, so you're not going to factor a number out. Unless nothing else factors, that means you'll factor out a 1 because you have to take something out. But since they both have variables, we'll just focus in on those variables. X to the third is x times x times x. X to the second is x times x. What do they have in common? They both have x squared. So you'll factor out an x squared. Okay, so if I take away x squared from that, it leaves me with just that x. If I take away x squared from this, it leaves me with no x's, but remember, it has that minus 6. And if you end up factoring out everything, then you have a 1 left over because we're dividing, and anything divided by itself is always 1. Okay, the first sign right here is a negative, so I'm going to factor out that negative. And then now I have to figure out what's the biggest possible number that goes into 9 and 54. And that would be 9. So I'm going to be dividing by 9. So negative 9 divided by negative 9 is positive 1. And then we have x, so positive 1x. Positive 54 divided by negative 9 is negative 6. Okay? And I know I'm on to something because these two factors match. So factor that out. Oops. That cancels that, and that cancels that. And what do I have left over? This x squared minus 9. Now, I take a look at the one that's squared, and I ask myself, is this a perfect square? Well, 9 is a perfect square. That means I can keep going only when this is minus. So if this is plus, I'm actually done because it's a difference of squares. So bring down the x minus 6, and then here's how we're going to factor it into 2 factors. So this tells you how many factors there are. Okay, so don't keep that in mind. You'll have 2 sets of parentheses. So what times what is x squared? X times x. Then what times what is negative 9? Positive 3 times negative 3. Okay, and then after you do that, you are done. Okay, the reason why we didn't do that before, sorry, that's my answer. The reason why we didn't do that before is because they weren't perfect squares. So you can only do that factoring method if you do have a perfect square.